Hello, I am Chris Williams, and I'm here with a review of Web of Venom, Cult of Carnage, Issue 1. The cover you can see by Joshua Cassara and Rain Barreto. It is a good cover. It shows a very mutated and deformed Carnage on the front. We also see the Spider-Man doppelganger from the Infinity Gauntlet event from the 90s, and to his left is and Shriek behind. It also has Demi-Goblin to her left, and this shows the characters who were a lot of the characters who were prevalent during Maximum Carnage during the 90s. This is a good cover. Carnage look in this cover is very good, but he doesn't really appear like this in the comic book proper. But I will tell you this much. The cover is awesome, showing a cult worshipping Carnage like God. And we open up on the first page, which is unfortunately just a bunch of generic panels for a comic book panel. It was kind of underwhelming for the first page of a comic book, especially for something like Cult of Carnage. Here we have Misty Knight talking into her recorder as she's looking for one of her partners, John Jameson. They are in an agency like the FBI, and they look over paranormal events. And she finds Jonah Jameson under a bunch of wreckage. He has been stripped naked, and he's screaming about, "My God is coming, my God is coming." She takes a coat and wraps it around John Jameson, and she worried that he might have lost his mind, or he's been horrifically mistreated by someone. So they are in a town that Carnage about a few months ago basically destroyed. Well, he used his symbiote to completely warp the people there and take over their minds, and he apparently might be back. John Jameson is the son of Jonah Jameson. He was an astronaut who ended up finding a stone and became Mna-Wolf. This stone was a mystical artifact. It gave him powers. It turned him into the superhero Mna-Wolf. Well, he used to be a villain, but he's now a hero. Well, John Jameson says that Carnage is working in this town, and because Carnage came here originally, and he used his symbiote to take over the people and animals of this town, and he basically had them destroy everything. And now he's back months after they've started rebuilding, and he's apparently started a cult who worship him as God. Now, as you read into this issue, you will learn that not only has Carnage completely decimated these people's lives, but during the event, he was even able to control heroes like Captain America and Wolverine with his symbiote. Maybe not to the degree that he controlled the people, because they didn't, as I understand it, they didn't kill anyone. They were eventually able to imprison Cassidy, but he escaped again, and now he's back. What he's doing here, he explains to Misty Knight, but it's hard for him to remember, because at first when she found him, all he could do was say, my God is coming, my God is coming. He didn't even know who he was. He explains to her when he arrived in town that he met this man, and the man showed him the cemetery, and the people who died during the regular people of the town who were killed by Carnage, who were taken over by his symbiote, he shows them to the cemetery, and their graves have all been dug up. They look like they've been dug up. They might have come out of there as zombies or something, from what I look at it. But it looks like someone dug up. But what happened to the bodies? This is quite strange. Strange is that they are missing a vital part of their body. Someone dug them up and then started cannibalizing the corpses. And the man tells John that he found his wife like this, and he didn't want to see her body paraded around or experimented on by forensic scientists. So he reburied her. And he tells him that he noticed as he was doing that, what they were all missing is that someone came there and ripped out all their spines. He basically he turned over the bodies and saw that someone had come in there individually and ripped out every spine from everyone's body. Either that or they were surgically removed, but I kind of doubt it. It looks like it was too bloody of a job job to have been something like a surgical cutting. It looks like someone reached in there and ripped out their spines. As you can see, as he looks closer, it's all torn up. It doesn't look like it was no clean cuts. I mean, it's a decent injury to the body, but it's all ripped and torn. It would probably have been much more cleaner because there's no blood in a dead body, or no real blood. So these bodies had been decimated, and their vital organs are still in there, but someone just came in there and just ripped the spine right out of the body. As John Jameson is explaining this to Misty Knight, they enter a derelict clothes shop, and he ends up taking a bunch of clothes, but he ends up paying it with some of Misty Knight's money and says he'll repay her, so he doesn't go around butt naked. Here, he takes her to the zoo, and they find a bunch of animals who have also had their spines ripped out. These animals were the animals I said earlier that Carnage had used during the time he was trying to destroy this town. He had covered them in a symbiote, and they had gone wild, going around killing people. Here, the man and John Jameson go to a new church. There's a cult that has opened up, and it apparently is now worshiping Carnage. Well, they probably don't say that right off the bat, but John Jameson agrees with Amanda that it's strange that there's a cult, that there's a new cult that opened up so soon after the town started rebuilding itself, and they find there. At first, John can't get in because they say that they have religious freedom, so they have the right to deny entry into their establishment, into their church. And John Jameson goes to see the director of it, and there's a strange dark-haired woman I think we've all seen before, but I won't tell you who it is. And she says that she will not help John. Later on, John is trying to get some sleep, but then he can't get to sleep because everything that has happened to this town is worrying him, so he starts to get up, and he walks around. He goes to the window, and he goes outside to take a walk, actually. He goes out and he sees that something is happening in the church. There's activity in the church and a lot of red light around it. So late after John explains this to her, he takes Misty Knight to the now nearly destroyed church because there's a bunch of wreckage now in the front door blocking it off. He explains to her as he approached the church, he heard a bunch of loud chanting, and he heard familiar voices. He breaks in, and he finds that it's the man who had been helping him earlier. They have him now chained up to a pedestal, and all the townspeople are now wearing robes with paint paint in a swirly line. The symbol of the church has been painted on their foreheads as well as on the man's chest. And he says, "For God's help me, John." And John Jameson goes to help the man who is screaming for him. But the people who are actually directing this mass, this congregation, there's a big tall man who's in back. While off to the side, something looks menacingly at the crowd with more than the normal amount of human eyes. And the other one turns out to be the woman. But this isn't any ordinary woman. This is actually Shriek, Carnage's girlfriend. And she says that he's glad that he's arrived. He's come here just for the event to happen. That's when the third man reaches down, and something familiar reaches out from under his robes. And it turns out it's the Carnage symbiote. All the man can do is scream in agony as he's being covered and taken over. But then he starts saying, "Yes, I want this." So John Jameson has no choice. He transforms into Mna-Wolf, and he gets ready to throw down with Shriek and the other cultists. But all he can do is be taken from behind because Carnage ends up wrapping him in his symbiote. And he explains this to Misty Knight. Later on, they see that the townspeople are still at the church, but they're all dead. They have also had their spines removed. And they are all smiling. They actually wanted this to happen. Carnage has succeeded. He's completely wiped this town off the earth. All Misty Knight and John Jameson can do is look at the bodies and try to find a clue. Well, this comic was good. It was a very good beginning comic, but I would say not enough action happened in it. It would be worth it to read this comic if you are collecting the Web of Venom event. Apparently, I would say yeah, it is. I would check it out if I were you. I would buy it. But I would say that you might be hesitant to buy every other tie-in issue to this event. But this comic was good. If I say a bit didn't have. It could have gone further with it. They could have had more carnage and more action. It just had this kind of came like a very low key horror story. Not so much a big event where Carnage is trying to pull off something that will completely change the world forever. But it was good. Not great. Now, I will say this. If you like this video, subscribe to me and I'll have more content for you tomorrow. Leave a like and leave some comments down below. I really do want to hear from you people. I really enjoy hearing from my fans. So I'll be back again tomorrow with another video. So see you all later.